We took the opportunity to travel into the Palestinian West Bank, ancient Samaria, and the southern Jordan River Valley. There were definitely fewer tourists traveling here. We arrived at Tel Gibeon, which hardly has anything remaining above ground, but has a deep underground water system. There were some Crusader buildings that were partially still inhabited.
We drove through the Ascent of Levona Pass on the way to the Three Seas Lookout. At the lookout, a young Israeli soldier greeted us graciously. From here, it is possible to see the northern edge of the Dead Sea, the southern edge of the Sea of Galilee, and the Mediterranean Sea to the west.
The city of Nablus, or ancient Shechem, is nestled between Mount Gerizim on the south and Mount Ebal on the north. We visited the Greek church, literally built over Jacob's well. Here, traditionally, is where the Lord declared himself as Messiah to the woman at the well. This monk is responsible for the illustrative icons everywhere throughout the church.
School was just letting out, and these friendly young men came over to greet us. Behind their school is traditionally Joseph's tomb. These Palestinian policemen showed us around. We had a very pleasant experience in Nablus.
We came to the ruins of Samaria, called Sabastia, the ancient capital of the northern kingdom of Israel. The disciples were upset with the people here for not greeting the Lord. To the disciples' suggestion to call fire down on this city, the Lord said that he didn't come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. Yet evil King Herod had built a temple to Caesar here, and evil King Ahab had a palace here. There are also ruins of a Byzantine church commemorating the finding of John the Baptist's head. In the modern town of Sabastia, there is a Crusader cathedral, and there are Roman royal tombs tunneled under it.
We traveled to the East Jerusalem town of Bethany, where a church commemorates the Lord's raising of Lazarus. As with all the churches in Israel, the paintings and mosaics tell the biblical histories very beautifully. New structures preserving the old are evident everywhere. The traditional tomb of Lazarus is available for viewing, but for a small price.
Continuing on to the Jordan Valley, we came to the Inn of the Good Samaritan Mosaic Museum. This was actually a Byzantine way station for pilgrims that harked back to the Lord's parable of the Good Samaritan. The museum houses recovered mosaics from synagogues and churches from the West Bank and Gaza. Across the road are the ruins of a Crusader fortress built to guard passage between Jericho and Jerusalem. A Jewish outpost settlement rests on a knoll in this wilderness.
This is a dry riverbed called the Wadi Qelt, which leads to the cliff-hanging St. George Monastery. The Lord and His disciples walked through this region on paths like this. We had the opportunity to visit inside the monastery and talk with the friendly Greek Orthodox monks. Originally built in the 6th century, so the icons are a little blackened due to all the oil lamps. A group of Russian pilgrims were approaching just as we were leaving.
We continued on to nearly 1,300 feet below sea level to the traditional Jordan River baptismal site. Here it is said that Joshua brought the Israelites into the Promised Land, and where the Lord was baptized officially as the Greater Joshua, who was destined to bring His people into the eternal promise of heaven.
We drove into Jericho to the ancient tell of the same name. The reason Jericho was ever here is because of the generous spring. Jericho actually does seem to be the oldest city in the world, with real structures and fortifications deep within the mound. Considering the conquest led by the first Joshua, there is evidence for collapsed mud brick walls and perhaps Rahab's still standing wall house, all in the approximate time period. The Lord passed by old Jericho and healed the blind man along the way.
The Lord would have passed by New Jericho and King Herod's winter palace on his way to Jerusalem for the last time. he would have walked uphill along the Wadi Qelt. But we just got into our car and drove the 20 miles back.